Good evening, everybody. I hope everybody's doing well. This is Aim Kamran, your O-Levels Accounting and Business teacher. And today we're going to be solving an O-Levels Business Studies paper. This is November 2023, paper 12. Okay, so that's paper 1, the second variant. So first of all, some basics for the paper. You have to answer the entire paper on the question paper itself. Right, and you're given lines at the end of each question to answer that question, and you must answer the question within those lines. And must be mindful of the marks allocated to the question, right, before you answer. And you must use a pen, right, as it says in the instructions. Use a black or dark blue pen, right? And if you have to draw any graphs or diagrams, then you have to use a pencil. Right, so be sure to keep all your stationery with you, and you shouldn't use any correction fluid or ink removers. Right, so you should think about your answers before you write them. You have this paper 1, so you have 1 hour and 30 minutes to do this paper. 1.5 घंटा है इसके लिए. Alright, so and secondly, the amount of lines that you're given to answer each question would be twice as much as the marks allocated to that question. For example, if we have a 2-mark question, we would be given 4 lines like this over here, right? And if it's a 4-mark question, we will be given 8 lines, right? So let's proceed. Question number 1. Paolo wants to start a business making cakes. He plans to sell all of his products to a wholesaler. Paolo knows that packaging for his products will be important. He has prepared some financial and sales data. An extract from this data is shown in table 1.1. Paolo is considering using crowdfunding as a source of finance. He knows the business will also need working capital. All right, and then we have this table that shows his financial and sales data. So the average price per cake he plans to charge is $6, right? $6 per cake, $6 for 1 cake. And the average cost per cake is $4, which means the average cost to make 1 cake is $4, right? And then the forecast average number of cake sales per day is 50. What does that mean? इसका मतलब ये है that Paolo expects to sell 50 cakes in 1 day. Right? He expects his sales to be 50 cakes per day. Alright, so question number 1, the first part. Define working capital for 2 marks. So usually for a 2 marks question, you're given 4 lines, and what you need to do is, if it's a defined question, you write the full definition, right? The full definition that you have studied to get the full 2 marks. So in this case, working capital refers to the amount of capital that is readily available to a business and is needed to finance the day-to-day costs of the business. Right? So capital and working capital are basically accounting terms. We hear them in business studies and in accounting. The capital is basically the money that you invest in your business. If you remember the first chapter of business studies, you must have studied the factors of production, right? What are they? Land, labor, capital, and enterprise. Right? So capital is one of the factors of production. In other words, it is one of the resources that a business needs. Right? One of the resources needed by a business to be functional. Capital includes the necessary machinery, equipment, and capital is also the money invested in the business. Right? So that also means that if you buy any machinery or equipment that you will need to produce the product that you plan to produce and sell, that is also your investment. How? Because you are purchasing that machine, you're spending that money that you kept for your business on buying that equipment, that machinery, right? So every item that is included in your capital, it is included in your capital because it is all part of your investment. And that even includes the space, the workspace that you're using, whether it's an office building that you own or if it's a building or a floor in a building that you're renting, right? And that is also an example of the day-to-day costs that we're talking about here. All right, and other examples would be if it's a rented space, then the rent for that space, all the bills that would be incurred, such as water, heating, electricity, all those would be your day-to-day costs, right? Okay, so the working capital is the amount that is available to the business to spend on all of those costs, to basically finance your business, to be able to pay for the regular costs that you would incur, right? That is your working capital. Now B, calculate the average revenue per day and show your working. This is also a 2 marks question. As you can see, the formula that we usually use to calculate the average revenue is average revenue is equal to price, average price, right? Average price per unit times the number of units sold, right? So the average price that Paolo plans to charge per cake, that is what? $6, right? So per unit, the unit in this case is the cakes. And the number of units sold means the number of cakes sold. So the average price that he plans to charge is $6 per cake, and he expects to sell 50 cakes per day, 50 cakes in one day. So that is his number of units sold, right? So 6 times 50, right? That will give us 300. So that is $300 should be the average revenue. And as you can see, working के लिए you are given a separate space to show the working, right? The 3 lines, and then you're given 1 line for to write down the final answer. इसका मतलब ये है, this means that you must show your working over here, write the formula, do the calculation, show how you did it and got the answer, right? And then you write the final answer over here on this line. It is not compulsory to use the dollar sign, right? वो लिखना इतना ज़रूरी नहीं है, but you must write the final answer over here. So your answer is 300, right? 6 times 50, 300. So you must make sure that you write 300 over here. And you can write it over here, but then you must also write it over here, right? Because as per the marking scheme, if you've calculated the correct answer over here, you've shown all your working, used the correct method, the correct formula, everything is correct and your answer is correct, but you did not write the final answer over here on this line. So even if you've written the answer over here, but if you didn't write it over here where it says final answer, then you will not be marked for that. You will lose 1 mark. Alright, so be mindful that when you do the calculation, you must write the final answer on this space where it says final answer. Okay? Okay, then part C. Outline 2 reasons why packaging may be important for Paolo's business. So as you can see, this is a 4 mark question. We have 8 lines and 4 lines per reason. Okay? So reason 1 must be within these 4 lines, and then reason 2 must be within these 4 lines. Okay, so packaging, as we know, is product and packaging is one of the P's of the 4 P's of the marketing mix. What are they? Product, pricing, promotion, and place. So the packaging is basically included within the product, right? Packaging is also a P, but it is included with the product usually. So when you study the product chapter, everything about packaging will be right there. And the reason is that packaging is basically a very integral part of the product, of course, right? And so why is the packaging important, right? And it says for Paolo's business, this means that there are likely to be some marks for application. इसका मतलब ये है that you may have to show some application, you may have to apply the reasons that you give to Paolo's business. Okay, how will these reasons be important to Paolo's business, right? What is his business? Making cakes, right? So first of all, you can say that the packaging must be suitable and it must be safe for the product, right? That's basically a general reason that applies to every kind of business out there, right? Every kind of business that sells products. It must not allow the product to spoil. Product किसी भी तरह खराब नहीं होना चाहिए. The packaging must be appropriate. It must carry the product appropriately. Like packaging इस तरह की होनी चाहिए that the product is safe and it must be in good condition when it is given to the customer, and especially when you're the one delivering it to the customer. Customer के घर जाके आप deliver कर रहे हो, so of course you have to make sure that the packaging is good enough to last. For example, deliveries are usually done on what motorbikes, right? And even on bicycles in some European countries. So you must make sure that the packaging is good and strong enough कि अगर वो बाइक वगैरह पे भी डिलीवर हो रही है, even if it is being delivered on a motorbike or a bicycle, nothing happens to the product. It's still safe and in good condition, right? So that is why packaging is important, and why is it important for Paolo's business? Because it must also be suitable for the cakes, right? It must prevent the cakes from being spoiled, okay, especially when they're being delivered to the customers, okay? Because the customers will want their cakes to be in good condition when they get it. The second reason you can say that you can talk about the added value, right? So the packaging for a product can also help add value to our product, right? So talking about cakes in this context, this is how we do the application. Due to the packaging of the cakes, Paulo can actually end up adding much more value to his cakes, especially if he makes the packaging very attractive, right? If it really speaks to the customer, if it's a nice color, if it's a color and a design that is liked by most people, right? So that would add more value to the cake. And because of that added value, you can even charge a higher price than $6 for those cakes, right? Okay, so this is it for this video. I will be back with the rest of this question in another video. All right, so take care.